151 West 30th Street, third floor. We'll begin by reciting the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread through the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharma's full profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to age and death, nor the wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, they transcend falsity, and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no destruction. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tadyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Buddhisus. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that Samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you are taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the blessed. We generate bodhicitta with the wish to free all beings. I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the mysteries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the mysteries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the mysteries of the world. So let's do a rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum being, as we know, the mantra of compassion. Compassion is the wish to remove the suffering of others. And so, as you're reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, imagine that you are absorbing the suffering, the difficulties of all sentient beings. And as you breathe out, you can imagine that you are providing your merit, your virtues to all others. So, Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. So, at the end of our last class, I said to everyone, work towards considering how phenomena exist and considering how, based on parts, we give a name to things, and work towards seeing how a tree, we call it a tree, but work towards seeing that we give that name tree to a bunch of parts, and that it is we who are naming that bunch of parts tree. It is we who are naming the dependent arising God. It is we who attribute a name to whatever. We instinctively see the phenomenon as existing inherently, existing intrinsically, existing independently. But in fact, it is we who give that importance or that quality of independence to the phenomenon. In front of me is a tripod made up of a bunch of parts that make up the legs, the parts that make up the central pole, and upon all those parts, I say, there's a tripod. If we take all those parts away, we won't find a tripod. There is not some sort of tripod there existing independently of those parts. However, when we view it and consider that there is a tripod there, in fact, it is we who are establishing that or giving it that tripod designation. So that comes from us. It's not even that when you put the parts all together in a certain way, it is a tripod or it becomes a tripod. When we put the parts together, there is something which we agree to call a tripod. So that was what I suggested that you bring into your lives as you're walking around. And as we've been just reciting the mantra of compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum, and imagining that we are assuming the suffering of others and that we are providing others with happiness as we breathe out, that is also something to bring into your lives, take into your life as you walk around. Preceding that thought should be some kind of establishment of a sort of an equal attitude towards all beings. And so I thought we could take a little moment to consider how to develop that equanimity. If we engage in this exercise of taking on the suffering of others and providing them with happiness, we will quite naturally tend to take on the suffering of those whom we care about and bring happiness to those whom we care about. And the people whom we don't really care too much about, the people who cause us problems, our minds won't go to them. And so it's important that we start by trying to develop some kind of an equal attitude towards all. And a very effective way of doing so, which is something that we really can bring into our lives as we walk around, sit on the subway or whatever, is to think that just as I wish to be happy and wish not to suffer, the person sitting here wishes to be happy and wishes not to suffer. Just as I wish to be happy and wish not to suffer, this person wishes to be happy and wishes not to suffer. And just as I wish to be happy and wish not to suffer, the person sitting in front of me, or standing in front of me on the subway, wishes to be happy and wishes not to suffer. And we can go from one person to another to another. We can think of people whom we are close to. We can think of people who are neutral, that sort of sea of people whom we have no real relationship to, with whom we don't have much consideration for, and think that each one, that's why it's useful to do so on the subway or in the street, each one wishes to be happy and wishes not to suffer in the same way as I do. And and then go on to those people who are um, enemies or problems, or people we dislike, and come to recognize that just as I wish to be happy and not suffer, that person wishes to be happy and not suffer. Take it further and think of insects and uh, little creepy crawly animals. Each one, you could look at a little ant or a cockroach rushing. Think that just in the same way that all that makes me engage in life in the way that I do is a wish to be happy and a wish not to suffer. That cockroach, as it goes about its life, all it's trying to do is be happy and not suffer. We're the same in that sense. We're a little different in other senses, but in that sense, in that essential sense, we're the same. So going from person being to being, thinking that way, begins to bring a change in our attitude towards others. And that creates the foundation for being able to truly develop the wish to remove their suffering and provide them with happiness. So let's spend, oh, I don't know, 3 minutes and really consider, just as I wish to be happy and wish not to suffer, this person wishes. Go through. It's important to do this not in a general way, just as I wish to be happy and not suffer, everyone in this class wishes to be happy. No, we should think of individual and people, and when someone is sort of like a difficult person, we think that person is acting in a difficult way, but he or she is doing so only out of a wish to be happy and not to suffer. What motivates them to act in the way they are acting is the same thing that motivates me in the way I act. And though they may be mistaken in why they do things, or what their purpose is, in terms of that, we are the same. That changes our attitude towards people. It creates this sort of attitude that we are all, in that sense, the same. Okay, so we'll just spend a few minutes thinking in this way. Do so on your own. Okay. So that's really something that we can think of, and take into our lives, and consider as we're sitting in the park and watching people walk by, sitting, as I said, on the subway, sitting in Penn Station waiting for our train. We have a lot of different people. We have the poor people who are having psychological problems and who are there begging, and just as I wish to be happy not to suffer, that person wishes to be happy not to suffer. And in that sense, we are the same. And as I say, that then becomes the basis for our imagining or developing that wish that we could remove their suffering and we could provide them with happiness. Developing that wish, which we can imagine as we did as we were reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, developing that wish to remove the suffering of others and to provide them with happiness. We should make that very profound. We can even imagine that we're doing so. We can really think that we are taking on the suffering of others and providing them with happiness. And then we can think, this is just imagination. I'm not able to do this. And it is out of that recognition that we are limited in our ability to help them truly, that we determine that we wish to work towards attaining some state of enlightenment where we actually can help them. That's fundamental. That's as we know on the Mahayana path, that is what establishes one as being on the great path, on the Mahayana path. So these are the steps that you take to bring about that. Now, it's not that we suddenly become bodhisattvas, but by thinking these ways, we are bringing about a change in our relationship to others, our attitude, our assumption of responsibility towards others, all of these things. But they don't happen unless we actually work on them. They don't happen unless we really cultivate them. And we have to cultivate them not simply when we come together on Mondays or Wednesdays, but in our lives, constantly, all over the place. So I thought I would, though we're meant to be dealing with secular ethics, I thought I'd throw a little Mahayana Buddhism in. So, and in terms of secular ethics, I think that it is His Holiness the Dalai Lama's wish to reach out to all and present a spiritual way that has a logic in and of itself, that has something that clearly makes sense, and that thereby and is practical and is thereby something that we can bring into our lives. And that's what this Ethics for the New Millennium attempts to do. We left off last week. We really spent our time discussing this one sentence on page 51, where we're talking about how to pursue happiness. And in our society, the pursuit of happiness is often mixed or confused with the pursuit of objects of desire, and the belief that attaining those objects of desire will satisfy us and bring us happiness. And so that what we were discussing last week was the problem is not materialism as such, rather it is the underlying assumption that full satisfaction can arise from gratifying the senses alone. So that was what we discussed. Do you have any thoughts on it as we begin today, having, I'm sure, spent the week considering it?
New thoughts about it?
Or the thoughts that you had over the week? I think that, our pursuit of that satisfaction by gratifying the senses is something that is so innate. It's so ingrained in us. And I don't, I had to take Instagram off my phone because
It was a temptation.
my I wasn't having my satisfaction gratified, or gratification. I wasn't quite getting there. It just eluded me, and I found that this pursuit of satisfaction through the senses was taking up a lot of time.
My thoughts over the week were a bit depressing because I was thinking about what we spoke about, how it's always that one more, this grasping and stuff, but how we're living in a almost global now culture of this consumption, and by design, that is playing into this human sort of thing, and where it's like, I think I said last week, where it's ingrained in us to the level of like food and water, like the thirst and hunger just from the body, so that it's, to get truly away from that is, you're, even if you give up everything, like even the Buddha, right? He was still had to drink after 7 days or whatever by the river, one grain of rice. And so like existing in a body, you're still conditioned to crave. And that's probably like the good end of it. It's like, okay, it's just food and water. But where I was getting depressed is that there's this lack of awareness of being in this cycle, and I want to be on the side of the road, like with some more awareness, at least not like all of it, but here, guys, this way, you don't want to be doing all this, and nobody's listening. Everyone's just going on, and even myself, I'm still trapped in some of these things as well. So,
but to know that you're trapped is a big step.
Now I want out.
Like Rinpoche used to say, he was going down Fifth Avenue and he'd see these beautiful things in the jewelry stores or whatever, and he would be giving them away to Tara and to other. He'd say, "Oh, that's a really beautiful thing. I'm going to give that to Tara." So that does help me sometimes when I go down Fifth Avenue. That's nice. And realize, I don't have room for that in my apartment or my checkbook, but you can appreciate what it is and make that just generosity gesture.
There was a flower festival at Macy's.
Oh yeah, they do a good spring roll with azaleas.
And Rinpoche would go into Macy's and make offerings of all these flowers to the Buddhas.
Yes.
And he would say, I can do this for free. I don't have to buy any of these flowers. And the people in the shop don't mind. It's not...
I've been known to make a pilgrimage to Macy's for Easter spring.
So it's a very good, it's a wonderful thing that you've reminded us of, because it's so easy to go into a shop and develop desire or envy, and not just in a shop, but when you see someone who has whatever it is that he or she want, and we can develop some kind of envy, and instead we can delight in the good virtue that enable them to have these things, and just change the dynamic. But
And also in these hot days, right? And then sitting under the tree, another tree, and then the wind that blow to you, makes you so cool down, right? And then you can offer that feeling to your teacher or Buddha. You can do that too, right?
sure.
Everything.
And you can also think that on a hot day, if you are experiencing a moment of cool, that your experiencing that is due to your virtuous actions in the past. That according to the laws of karma, you could not have that moment of delight from the cool unless you merited it from your past actions. So all these little exercises in how to view the experiences we have as we go about life, they don't demand sitting and meditating in some serious way. They don't demand, these are things that we can really bring into our lives as we walk around, and suddenly walking around becomes this wonderful process. So, the problem is not materialism as such. Rather, it is the underlying assumption that full satisfaction can arise from gratifying the senses alone. So, all of these exercises can counter this pursuit of having our senses gratified. Unlike animals whose quest for happiness is restricted to survival and to the immediate gratification of sensory desires, we human beings have the capacity to experience happiness at a deeper level, which, when achieved, has the capacity to overwhelm contrary experiences. So, what does this mean? What does this mean?
Well, it brings me back to the beginning of class, where you were saying that you wanted to give us a dose of Maya Buddhism, and then thinking, okay, what in what you just said is secular, and what in what you just said is, quote, religious. And it occurred to me that maybe the only thing I found religious was the positing of enlightenment. So I wanted to ask you, would you agree?
Yes.
So then it seems like here, talking about deeper happiness might be referring to that.
Well, isn't in part that's where so much suffering comes? People have a very transitory understanding of happiness instead of this more settled, kind of balanced middle way understanding of what true happiness is. Like when you go through the equanimity exercise, I think about what causes people suffering. If they think they're happy, it's not a very substantial happiness.
But we have to be careful not to say,
Not to judge.
you think you're happy.
Yeah, yeah. But being
Why?
happy because you're more powerful or because you have attachment to physical things, those kinds of, at least from my perspective, I try to understand why they think they're happy.
A dose of happiness.
The Coca-Cola company should think so.
You have matcha latte there. You'd like to indulge.
I have a whole slew of
I didn't
subjects.
know you like matcha latte.
I think happiness here is tied more to the definition of contentment, that deep happiness is, and that's like being content, and that's sort of living in that realm. And like Debbie was just saying, the contrast of that transactionatory happiness that is just as easy as it comes, it goes. And I think that the other piece of happiness he's also saying there, the idea to me had come up of, have you ever like been overjoyed or used to be mad at someone, but then you come into this happiness, joy state where, oh, it's fine, don't worry about that thing. Like it's just, it erases the old negative feelings. I think the paragraph says something, I'm really poorly paraphrasing, but I think you get the idea.
So the whole point of this is to recognize that the gratification of our senses is not true happiness, is not a happiness that we will experience unless our senses are being tickled. And so we have to work towards a deeper happiness. And all right, so we'll.
Is the deeper happiness mental?
It's the whole, it's you physically being with the mental. That's a good question. But it's physical too. It's physical
is it-
too, isn't it?
Isn't it saying that it's not physical?
It is and it isn't.
How is
Well,
it?
it's ideas.
At the same time, you must pull all five senses inside your shell like a turtle, is what I heard.
Okay.
And then inside the shell gathers like a beehive of information. And then honey is produced up inside.
So it starts with the senses?
It starts with silence. But
So
she's
it's not the
tricky
senses.
every time we talk about her. That's right.
What does our referee say about this?
So, yes, I think that all our senses have to be brought into the picture, but eventually it is really we have to recognize that the gratification of senses is not it. Consider the case, and this is an interesting example that His Holiness gives. Consider the case of a soldier who fights in a battle. He is wounded, but the battle is won. The satisfaction he experiences in victory means that his experience of suffering on account of his wounds will likely be far less than that of a soldier with the same wounds on the losing side. Now, this really, I think it's very true, and it becomes, if you have two people who have experienced the same suffering, but one has that feeling of we won, the other one has the feeling of we lost, there's a difference. And it's not that the suffering, that the physical suffering that the wounded one who was on the winning side experiences, it's not that he doesn't feel the physical suffering, but there's something else that happens within him that doesn't happen in the other. And that whole notion that there's a difference between physical suffering and something else is to be considered. And it may come close to what you're saying, that all the senses together have to be involved in true experience of some kind of great blissful happiness that is more than simply sensual tickling.
Can you say more about that?
No. I'll let you say. You sit in church playing the organ.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yes.
You're bringing happiness to people.
Is it mental or physical?
What?
As you're
For
playing,
Music,
as you're
the-
creating music.
myself? Or for
No,
For all.
for your audience.
I don't know what they because they seem to like it.
See, you think
And isn't it also physical?
Over many years.
but you said all of them together. But then in the text was saying we want to get past those senses, and I feel like that's also.
But you're not ignoring them, you're acknowledging them. See, you're not, the point isn't to deny them, because then it'll just be.
He's debating. He's debating.
Okay, he's questioning them.
So, this human capacity for experiencing deeper levels of happiness also explains why such things as music and the arts offer a greater degree of happiness and satisfaction than merely acquiring material objects. However, even though aesthetic experiences are a source of happiness, they still have a strong sensory component. Music depends on the ears, art on the eyes, dance on the body. As with the satisfactions we derive from work or career, they're in general acquired through the senses. By themselves, these cannot offer the happiness we dream of. So we seek something more than just the senses. Now, it could be argued that while it is all very well to distinguish happiness that is transient from that which is lasting, between ephemeral and genuine happiness, the only happiness it is meaningful to speak of when a person is dying from thirst is access to water. This is unarguable. When it comes to the question of survival, naturally our needs become so urgent that the majority of our efforts will go towards fulfilling them. So that I find it interesting that His Holiness reminds us that there are these situations where those physical senses need to be, just for our survival, need to be satisfied. However, he says, yet because the urge to survive comes out of physical need, it follows that bodily satisfaction is invariably limited to what the senses can provide. So what's the meaning of that? Do tell me what you derive from that.
Is it speaking on the impermanence of the satisfaction that sensory pleasures give you, and the more permanent satisfaction that can be derived elsewhere, like the thirsty man allegory? Say, if the Buddha arrived right at that exact moment that the other person had the glass of water, but the Buddha offered him, instant Dhamma salvation, arahantship, right? Which would provide the true happiness. This is a good thought.
So at that moment, I think that what is being said is that there are moments where the priority is that need to satisfy the physical need for water if you're dying of thirst. However, that is a physical satisfaction, and there is that greater satisfaction that we have to.
It's just the mental satisfaction, understanding your place and suffering and happiness.
So if, on that same thing, if you were to accept that gift from the Buddha, then feel like you were on the winning team, would it slake in your thirst physically?
I don't know.
On the same thought project as the guy winning the war. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I don't. I'm saying that I don't know.
Oh, but yeah.
I don't know. I think that what is being suggested here is that still, though at that moment that need for water is primary, that's an immediate, desperate need that has to be satisfied. However, the real happiness that we work towards is at a whole other level. It's beyond the senses. So, to conclude, that we should seek immediate gratification of the senses in all circumstances would hardly be justified. Actually, when we think carefully, we see that the brief elation we experience when appeasing sensual impulses may not be very different from what the drug addict feels when indulging his or her habit. Temporary relief is soon followed by a craving for more. And in just the same way that taking drugs in the end only causes trouble, so too does much of what we undertake to fulfill our immediate sensory desires. And without getting into drugs and, the things that have within them the ability to addict us, I think that we have to recognize that addictive quality, yes, there are things that we can attribute addictiveness to. I think that, the cigarette manufacturers actually make those cigarettes addictive, and drugs have an addictive property to them, but I think that we have to acknowledge that addictive quality exists in our relationship to food. People who collect vinyl records can. Sorry? No, cameras are different. Exempt. There's nothing addictive about it.
That's all superstition.
So, but truly, I think that even when someone buys a new car, the pursuit for the perfect car, and then the acquiring of that perfect car, and the satisfaction that is felt by possessing that perfect car, and then the experience of slight lacks of perfection in that perfect car, and eventually, after a few years, the recognition that it's not so perfect and that there is another one that would be perfect, and that's addiction.
It's our attachment to that idea.
I've seen Tony go through a few Subarus.
It's the engine that runs capitalism.
It's the engine that runs capitalism.
Yes,
Yes.
on sports as an addiction. I personally never watch basketball, but this weekend I watched basketball. You made millions of people in New York happy, and millions of people in San Antonio not
Unhappy.
It became like massive addiction in New York City, which made everyone happy.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think about it? Is it like,
I think that the 1-1 draw between Morocco and Brazil was perfect.
Cape Verde, 0-0 in Spain.
I didn't think that.
Science keeps referring to deeper levels of happiness.
Right.
And then it seems to imply that aesthetic appreciation might be 1 degree of that.
it's a Chicago Bulls fan.
It's just like the
Killer.
But what I mean is, if we want to me, those things that he's talking about, we should have some sense of them to want to go for that.
But still, they're temporary.
Yeah.
It's a bit deeper level because it's mental, but then music ends. Things have to be in place so that you could enjoy it.
But he says it's 1 level.
Yeah, but when you're mentally unhappy, the most delicious meal, most beautiful car is not going to satisfy you. Your mind's going crazy.
So what will satisfy us?
Being nice to others,
To start off,
being kind,
that's something we can do to
Being
condition
thoughtful.
the mind in the other direction.
not
So
debating.
that lasts.
Eventually, yes, become truth. I didn't think it's
Thankfully, there's a lot of sentient beings
Once
to
again,
care for.
Sorry?
I said, thankfully, there's a lot of sentient beings to care for, so you won't run out of supply.
No, the more.
Giving is a great way to start.
Mm,
Yeah, if you're wondering how to be good, just give somebody something. It could even be something you don't want. That is a great way to start, just opening up. Right?
And then,
I go to your house, you have so much useless junk. To find something, give it to somebody. They're gonna love it, and you got rid of the chain around their neck.
that piano.
Is there any, is there any kind of permanent happiness?
What do you permanent what?
yes.
Or is that getting too Buddhist?
Yes,
No.
or you mean jumping out of secular ethics?
Well, yeah, he's wearing a robe. Yeah, but even,
You can't escape it.
you can still have that conversation about a deeper understanding of satisfaction and balance in your life within a secular conversation with somebody who's a Buddhist. Try to get them to have a better mental well-being.
Why can't we
as
talk
well
about
as-
Buddhism?
Oh, we can't, it's teasing.
Is that a permanent happiness?
So, is there a permanent happiness? So, the more content we are, the calmer we are, the more we are concerned with others rather than with ourselves, the happier we will be.
Is that the same as equanimity?
So, equanimity is the sort of foundation upon which we can actually develop what there. So there's a difference between compassion and great compassion, and the difference is that compassion is an attitude we can have towards others, but great compassion is an attitude we have towards all others. And the difference is that compassion, when limited, can be limited to the people we care about. And it can not extend to the people we don't care about. That's why you create equanimity first. When you have that true great compassion, one of the side effects is that you are happy. It brings you, and of course, happiness may not be the right word, but you aren't, of course you can be concerned about others. You can, your heart goes out to those who are suffering. However, there is a calm steadiness that is a great,
This is an off-topic question, so you may wish to pass. But what is the difference between wisdom and the perfection of wisdom?
So when we use the term perfection of, let's, instead of applying it to wisdom, let's say generosity and the perfection of generosity. So if I give you something, I'm acting in
With the perfection of generosity?
No, I'm acting generously, or you're. If you give to me with a realization of the emptiness of the object you're giving, the emptiness of the giving, the fact that the giving depends on a giver, a person to whom you are giving a gift, that interdependence that establishes giving.
Yes.
When you give with that attitude, that is what brings in that perfect quality of giving.
Thank you.
And to achieve the level of giving being perfect, there would be no sense of the self that wants to keep. There's simply this.
But the absolute perfection could only be done by a Buddha, right?
I don't know. Absolute. I went into a restaurant and the they were cleaning the restaurant, and I was waiting for the person I was having lunch with, and so they asked if I would sit at the bar. So I sat at the bar, and the bartender was setting up, and he turned to me. We were all alone, the two of us, and he said to me, "I have to come up with the drink of the day. Can you give me an idea?" And I said, "Compassion." So, oh, that's nice. So what shall we make compassion out of? I said, "How about some fruit?" He said, "Okay." And he started putting little fruits into this. And then he went over to the alcohol, and he saw this vodka, and he said, it was called Absolute. He said, "We'll make it absolute compassion." So that's absolute compassion. You can taste it.
Can we go and try this?
You can. So, where are we? Temporary relief is soon followed by craving and more. So we must acknowledge that there can be no hope of gratifying the senses permanently. So this is not to say that the pleasure we take in certain activities is somehow mistaken. So when we engage and we satisfy the senses, it's not that that is not a pleasure, but we must acknowledge that there can be no hope of gratifying our senses permanently. Now, I expect some kind of a debate from you about what this permanence might mean, but I think we can think of permanent here in the sort of general use of the word that we're talking about attaining some kind of a pleasure, a delight that remains forever, that is not simply caused by the titillation or the satisfaction of senses. At best, the happiness we derive from eating a good meal can only last until the next time we are hungry. As one ancient Indian writer remarked, indulging our senses and drinking salt water are alike. The more we partake, the more our desire and thirst grow. So I think that may be a good place to, I leave you all with thirst, okay? Salt. So, have we?
Oliver Tree.
So we've been asked to pray for Oliver Tree as we recite the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels, where we are recollecting the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and we dedicate our recollection of the qualities of the three jewels to Oliver Tree, and anyone else you wish to think of. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans, is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from skandhas. He is possessed. His ayatanas are controlled. He is completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He is crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the booming ways, sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the great race of Buddha Bhagavata. The Holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Yana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joint palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue.
Pure the past freedom from passion. Patient liberating from lower ranks. This alone does bring ultimate good. Attachment to the Dharma which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the mysteries. They are wholly filled the matter of its riches. Attachment to the Sangha. Attachment to the Buddha, the leader. Attachment to the Dharma, the protector.
I prostrate to the Son of the community. I prostrate respectfully always to be free. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dhamma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure life. Can you read the 8 verses on training the mind? With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest of those going along, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of life. In all relationships, I will learn to search my mind, and as soon as there is need of relationship arises, and dating myself arises, I will learn to face the hurt. I will learn to cherish the relationship beings, and know as if I were when others are treating me badly, let the peace go on. I will not take all loss and when knowing my future with great hope, unreasonable words I will learn to be that existence spiritual path. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness, clarity and clarity, and respect to myself, all harm, suffering, and others. I will never keep my justice, undefiled, unstable, ignorant for concerns, and by understanding of all knowledge that includes the erase of knowledge attachments. And the prayer for a swift return. Exalted wisdom of all the truth gathered in God, so that is manifest in the form of the one wearing self-enrolls. Guru Lokantu, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers. Lord of speech, the victor of God's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. For holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed way of awakening. Yet you will withdraw the activities of the form body that serve the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings to be sufferers? Though impossible for you to fix existence end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by a wish by 7 seas. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religion, life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an arrival of supreme illumination, full hold of the sage's teaching, and which fulfillment of the Lord. Return to the glory of the Son Kingdom. Magnificent truth of the figures of schools, Mahatma, Maya, and the ocean of contemplation. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh life.
Thank you very much.
So next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, in South Orange, New Jersey, 502 North Ridgewood Road, we have a class at 7 o'clock in the evening. Thank you.
There's cookies.